So, understanding all praises to the Father, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, understanding the situation today, one has to recognize, excuse me, one has to recognize the main fact of all that is of Scripture, of Scripture. You, one has to remain, one has to understand the first simple fact. And that first simple fact is that the creator of all of this made a covenant with a peculiar, particular people. Made a covenant. You can't get around that. That's the biggest elephant in the room, and that's the problem that the whole world is having since the Gentiles, since the heathen took over. They're in a state of denial and delusionment about that contract. Nah, that contract don't work. That ain't the real contract. That contract doesn't mean anything in the big scheme of things because our people say that it doesn't. Our lawyers, our judges say that it doesn't matter. So now here at the end, when we start seeing various things, wonders and things of greatness, of great change, that contract has come back to life. And the people are questioning this contract. Whereas the contract or the contractor has explained to the contractee, which is his people, that he still holds the contract true. It is not voided, as other people would say that it is. And yes, he did not want everyone on his team, as his people. He did not want everyone. He wanted only those that want him. Now, see, the other question that people have to recognize and understand and ask themselves is that, are you prepared to worship the Father without ceasing? Without ceasing. See, the endurance and the perseverance is so that you can worship the Father without ceasing. It's not going to come, the kingdom's not going to come and then, all of a sudden we're going to be eating hot dogs and we're going to be at McDonald's and, it's just going to be a blackface. No, that's Thomas of foolery. Straight up, straight down. The concept is, are you willing to worship the Father without ceasing? So we're getting, brothers and sisters are here saying that we're getting it, we the people, and they're talking about, working on self and seeing thyself. But we also have to understand that the concept of understanding yourself and realizing who you are has to be perfected so that you can worship the Father without ceasing. That's what all the books are talking about. I mean, Jacob's Ladder, talking about, you go up, you see each level, there's angels worshiping the Father in a particular way without ceasing. Yeah. And we can, if we take a step to the right for a second and say, okay, all things as they are, the Father has not come back, so we don't believe in that, and we recognize and understand that argument as truth because the Father did for a time turn his back on his people, which simply meant that he was not going to help them anymore. In and amongst all of the principalities, as in Jubilees it stated that he had put principalities or spirits over all the nations to lead them astray from him, but not Israel. They were his. So if he just said, you know what, I gotta let these people take this whooping real quick, it ain't gonna be but a hot second for me, but for them, they're gonna have to go through it. They're gonna have to persevere and endure. Unlucky. It's the way it is. Because they just can't get right. Because I need people that are going to worship me without ceasing. Because this is not a small task. This task is not for everyone. Every spirit has its purpose. Every purpose is not necessarily for the Most High in a positive. It could be for the Most High in the negative, which ultimately a negative purpose for the Most High wins the day, but yet it serves the purpose for the positive. When you get beat, you either recognize or don't. You either respect or don't. It just is what it is. And a lot of people have this conceptualization that it's this love thing. It isn't, and it is. It is because tough love is true and right. Unconditional love is true and right as well. But there's no love that loves without morality. You can only beat a thing, a being, you can only beat a spirit down to the level, to his or her or its minimum. Once it reaches its minimum, survival instinct steps in. And the survival instinct is what you have to manifest in a way that allows for the proper connection to the positive, to the Spirit, to the Father. You have to accept things as they are. Okay, I took this whooping. All right, now I ain't gonna do it no more. I might mess up a couple times, but you know what? I'm gonna keep that top of mind that, you know what? Damn if I'm taking this whooping again. That's the positive within the negative. Or the negative that serve the purpose for the positive. Because now you know. The dilemma with the Gentiles and the heathens, in particular the Christians, and for that matter, all the other religions, European religions, is that they don't acknowledge the contract. But yet, they base their entire society on contractual agreements. Matter of fact, they stole the land that we live on currently today in the Americas, and the Europeans, and the African nations, or lands, I should say. And they tried to do the same, and they did do the same with the Asian nations, based on the contract. But at those days, the contract was called a treaty. Treaties, a declaration, a manifest, dum diversas, and now a contract. There's your more manifest contractual sea-bearing laws, which come out and amount to natural law. Because when you're on the sea, you're at the whim of nature, the Father. So you have to account for and acknowledge and accept natural law. But when you get on land, and I'm living good. Shoot, I got this money, yo. I'm rolling this dice. I'm making this money. Getting these clothes. I'm making this money. The father ain't messing with, I got myself protected on land from the father's natural elements. And over the course of time, the father was like, all right, let them rebuild and do their thing. As they put the whooping to my people. Because they need to be chastised right quick to get on the stick to understand that they're going to have to endure and persevere if they want to be with me, if you want to be with me. Ain't going to be none of this, let me be rogue and a rebel and a maverick. Ain't going to be none of that Gentile ease talk. It either will be or it will not. And there's your eschatology. Where the Gentiles got a problem with their eschatology because they can't accept the outcome or the consequence. That's how you know who you're dealing with. Are you dealing with a Gentile mind or are you dealing with a righteous mind? Someone who can accept and acknowledge consequence. Because if you can't, then shoot. You just go out there and shoot, kill, steal, destroy, lie, murder, adulterate, if that may be used as a word. Because you do not consider the consequence, therefore you do not care. So the Gentiles have had this situation of creation on land that they, mind you, have created incorrectly in terms of sustainability. And when you look at the Father and his people, it is all about sustainability. We wouldn't be here if our ancestors, our forefathers, couldn't sustain themselves. Then the Father turned his back on them, but he was also allowing his master angels to take care of his people to a degree, to a level. Because he knew that the Gentiles who are rogue to his contract would break it. And that's where that's their history. They've broken every contract that they've ever made. Even now, you can see that they've broken the Antarctica contract that they made, or treaty that they made. They broke NATO broke the contract that they had with Russia. Hence why we in this diabolical madness of Gentile uneasement here at the end days, here at the exchange of situation. That word, we have to recognize that word to be truth, the exchange of situation. They knew it. They know it. Their forefathers wrote about it. Now we're living it. And now we're also being tested on how we deal within this exchange of situation to them. Being in it, but not of it, is a skill. It is levels to this, even to that, to a degree that no one really recognizes. Might also be it might just be the master skill, the universal skill. The Gentiles call it love. Oh, you got love, but they killing they just killing. Cha-cha, cut, shoot, bomb, poison. but we love you. Love is all you need. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Then they pump up this music to make it all seem right for them. But on our side, they pumping up music to show that it's all wrong. Because we have to persevere and endure and sustain ourselves through it. They didn't. They had to persevere and endure their own selflessness. And many of them failed. Many of them gonna have that look on their face. Many of us failed. Many of us gonna have that look on our face. But the Father has turned his back to us to say to us, to show us through the stars, through our own individual living, through our minds, through our hearts, that he back. That he back. So just words of wise, words of wisdom, understand. So the Father has given us all types of tools. Tools to manifest and get ourselves straight. Manifesting things the proper way is the key now. The tool. The tool is the Father. You know, we have to get in our heads to come up out of her completely how that is individually for each person. Once we come up out of them, we can be collected. We can be collected. That's what all the spaceships all about. It's time for us now to clean ourselves so that we can be, as an individual, collected to be part of the collective. And we ain't got to worry about these Gentiles. We just need to know what they're doing so that we can stay away from them and come up away from it and be not partakers of her sins. And truly and thankfully, that contract that the Father has provided us is holding true. It's a lot of weight. It holds a lot of weight, that contract. And when they don't want to discuss it, we know who they are, where they are, and we move on. We no longer have time to entertain the Gentiles' folly in their delusion or their stupor. Now's the time for us to stand up. We can be heard and seen, but being seen and heard, we have to be it's got to be from the Word. It's got to have the Father's stamp of approval on it. So we can't be like them, running around, acting a straight mule, straight donkey. Because time is of the essence. We got a long way to go and a short time to get there. And the last thing we need to be bothered with is entertaining the tree of knowledge of good and evil, because that's all the Gentiles got. They ain't got the tree of life. We see it. It's all death on them, their hands. There's so much blood on their hands. I mean, there's no life there. And that's the point that I made before with the $100 million, the $100 billion, and there's 360 million of us here. They're not worrying about life. They're eating off of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So we have to take our gaze away from that, away from them, and all that they do and all that means individually, and put our gaze on the tree of life. That's where we are now. Because we know these Gentiles are a foolish nation that does nothing correct, that has no understanding. And they don't even acknowledge the contract. That's the number one folly. That's the number one folly of the Gentiles. So if you're going to be on that no contract having Gentile mindset, then you're going to be in Christianity, you're going to be in all the other religions. But if you believe in this contract, then you would do all that you can, all that you will, all in your power to be prepared and endure and persevere so that you can worship the Father without ceasing. All praises to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Elohim, the Creator, the Ancient of Days, Yahweh Shai, the earthly mother, and to the family, Shalom.